Whoa, the view from the top of Ohrid Castle definitely matches the flag and its grandiose nature.
It's got history going back, more than 1,000 years, more than 2,000 years really. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site for two different reasons. Good morning from Elbasan, Albania. We left Tirana this morning, the capital city, and left behind our panoramic accommodations that gave us a beautiful view of the entire city. We grabbed some breakfast and drove about an hour to this historic city that's kind of off the tourist path.
Elbasan is located about 40 miles from Tirana and makes a great little stop on the route to Lake Ohrid in North Macedonia. Elbasan dates back more than 1,600 years and features a walled castle amid what is now Albania's third largest city.
This castle developed as a stop on the Silk Road, which before we came here, we didn't even know Albania was part of the Silk Road. It has 26 towers around the castle, and people still live inside the castle today.
It only takes a few minutes to walk these stone streets, which provide a snapshot of Albanian life hundreds of years ago when two major religions took up residence.
Albania is a predominantly Muslim country, but you can't always really tell because a lot of that religious history and practice was destroyed during the communism era. We're here in Elbasan, which has one of the oldest mosques in the country. It was built in 1492 and managed to survive even though the tower was pulled down. Construction on this church in Elbasan began in the 1300s and ended in the 1400s, which is about the same time as the mosque was being built.
With a quick stroll through Elbasan complete, we hopped back in the car and continued on our route to Lake Ohrid. Our Choose Balkans guide Nick grew up in a town along the drive, and he pulled just a little bit off the road to show us a small but significant old bridge, still in use by some locals today. Another one of Nick's surprises. This is a bridge that divides North and South Albania. He said it was the most important bridge in Albania on the Silk Road. This bridge was built in the 16th century, so the 1500s. Again, this bridge has stood the test of time while this river has taken down modern bridges.
Whoa, look at the view. These bridges were really strong, but the safety on the side is a little lacking.
Another short drive down the road led us up into the mountains where we reached the border between Albania and North Macedonia.
We've had pretty easy border crossings, and it's helped to have a guide because it's been a quick process, but we're getting ready to enter our fourth country of the tour, North Macedonia. We've got a little bit of a line here, but not too bad.
Yeah, I don't expect the crossing to be too difficult. We've never had one of the situations that we've heard about where you may be in line for 4 or 5 hours. Don't expect that to happen here.
After a short wait, we passed through another border easily and started making our way around the lake.
We're getting our first look at the lake over there, but this river that you see behind me is running out of the lake, and this river runs all the way back up into northern Albania, where we took the ferry a couple days ago, Lake Mani.
We continued just a few minutes down the road until we reached the modern and lively part of Ohrid, where we could take in a full view of the lake and shore, complete with lunch at a picture-perfect location.
You can see that a lot of European and maybe Macedonian or Albanian people are here for a vacation. It's definitely got a resort party vibe here by the pier, but the lake is actually really important. It's one of the largest and oldest lakes in all of Europe.
The lake is also home to 200 species of aquatic life not found anywhere else in the world. The region is designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its incredible natural beauty and resources.
But it's also a UNESCO World Heritage Site because of its history, which dates back more than 2,000 years.
Refueled by lunch, we left the lakeside and the boardwalk crowds behind for the afternoon and began winding up the steep hill to view the city's cultural past.
So we are here in May and the weather is beautiful, which is why so many people are out. It would be a great place for a family vacation because there's a lot of ice cream and kids activities that would make it seem just like you're at the beach, except for you're in Macedonia and there's mountains surrounding the lake. Just entered the old town of Ohrid, which, to give you an idea of what old means here, the church is believed to have been here for more than 1,000 years. The old part of Ohrid is a nice little walk or drive uphill where you can take in some of the history. It's a much different feel, much more quiet than the lakefront.
The old town contains a number of churches and monasteries that represent just how significant this area has been for centuries. These churches and their stunning locations line a path that take you up to the city's impressive fortress.
The crown jewel at the top of the old town is the Ohrid Castle. It's almost 2,000 years old and developed in stages. It's a little bit of a climb, but the views are worth it.
Winded.
The castle might be home to the most expansive views, but the walk back down has its own beautiful surprise.
We're off to find one more church. The tiny St. John Church doesn't have much inside, but it does have some prime real estate for the city.
After watching a gorgeous sunset over the lake, we took a stroll back to the modern town and discovered a traditional festival. We then checked into our apartment up in the old town before eating another great local meal with even more traditional music.
I'm trying to figure out a way to describe Ohrid, North Macedonia. It's not quite like anything I've ever been to before, but I guess it's kind of like a split Croatia maybe, before Split became really popular. It's a beautiful setting. You're right on the water, except for instead of the beach, you're up kind of in the mountains on a lake. And our guide was telling us that this is kind of the place where local families and even local tourists will come just for the day and then leave after lunch. We were eating dinner at 8:30, 9 o'clock tonight and walking back at 11, and the restaurants did have people in them, but most of the people that were here during the day were gone, giving the city a completely different feel.
Our second day of lake adventures took us around the eastern and southern side of the lake.
We kicked off our journey with a 40-minute drive south through beautiful scenery. Our first stop of the day is the St. Naum Monastery, which has a beautiful spot here on Lake Ohrid and a beautiful crystal clear spring. The outside of the monastery kind of looks like a resort with fancy restaurants, so I'm excited to see what the inside looks like.
The sights inside the monastery complex can be seen pretty quickly, but take a moment to meet with the local residents and enjoy the peaceful environment. In the warmest months, visitors can swim and relax off the lake's shore.
So, like many of the sites around Lake Ohrid, this church dates back more than 1,000 years, and it also has an incredible view.
The church here is full of original paintings that are unrestored, as well as original furniture. We felt a little awkward taking photos and video inside, so you'll have to come check it out for yourself.
We've taken about an hour drive, crossed back from the border of North Macedonia into Albania, and we have made a stop in Korce, which is known as Little Paris for its French influence.
Korce is home to some important Albanian cultural heritage, and the main street is lined with restaurants and cafes. The city serves as a summer escape for many people living in Tirana, but on a cool day in May, Korce was fairly empty, and we only stayed for a quick walk before starting our quest for lunch.
One of the best features of Korce is that you can drive just a little bit outside of the city and visit one of the small villages for amazing food. We're here at Taverna Antonetta, where we just ate several courses of food for about $11 a person, and it was all incredible and farm fresh. So much food. After lunch, we made a short drive back to the coast of Lake Ohrid, where we took a quick little nap and are getting ready to explore a couple of the towns on the Albanian side of the lake's coast.
Yeah, one of them is Pogradec, the other is DRILON. We're actually staying in a third little town that I don't quite know the name of. The hotel here is actually called Hotel Pogradec, which is a town that is not the town that we're in, so a little bit confusing.
Just steps away from the Albanian lakeside is DRILON National Park, a small park with a calm setting. It makes for a nice stroll on a lazy afternoon and comes with an interesting backstory.
So it was just explained to us that the former dictator of Albania, Enver Hoxha, used to come here as kind of a vacation getaway, and he would hunt in this area. But what we're told is that his soldiers would actually hide out in these grass areas and release ducks into the air, and another soldier would shoot at the same time that he did and actually be the one who killed the ducks, even though it was made to seem as though he did. Pretty rough life if you have people to stage your hunting expeditions for you.
Another short walk took us back to the sleepy lakeside village where we did some exploring and eating for the night.
This little village of Tushemisht shot to fame during the communist era because of a propaganda film that was taped right here in the village. Today it's more of a beach town, but people still come to visit. Our guide told us that you can still watch this film, The Lady from the Town, on TV, and he said while people may not miss communism, it does have a level of nostalgia. We are back at our hotel room after another massive dinner. Even though it was supposed to be light and comprised of fish, it was still several courses, and the restaurant wanted to make sure that we got dessert before we left, which it was all delicious.
Yeah, I don't know. Today was a pretty low-key day as far as a tourism standpoint, but the food was some of the best we probably had on the trip. Yeah, they just keep blowing us away with the different meals we were having, but today probably topped them all. I don't know, though. It's hard to say. I'm thinking back about all the different meals we've had, and they've all just been really good. But today, it definitely did have some of the highlight dishes today, but there have been some others the last few days as well. So I would hate to put this above anything else, but it was a dang good food day.
I think anything that you eat in Albania, I don't think I've had anything I haven't really liked. Everything comes from the local village, from the local farm, and it just tastes insanely fresh. Like, I get excited about eating a tomato, I get excited about eating yogurt, because I just know it's going to taste like something I don't get to experience in the US very often, because I don't have anybody in my village who's making yogurt.
Maybe we should start a business.
But that is definitely one reason you should come to the Balkans, and one reason you should come to Albania, because the food is simply prepared, but it is also, there's a lot of traditional dishes that may be a little bit more complicated, but everything is fresh, everything is local. This area that we're staying in is the Albanian side of Lake Ohrid. So way across the lake you can actually see Ohrid, North Macedonia, which was a very popular tourist spot. This area over here is kind of more of the relaxed beach town. We're here in May, and the lake is pretty cold, so people aren't here to swim, so it's kind of dead right now. But there are some plus sides to that. Everyone is super excited to see you. You're not dealing with crowds. And we even visited an old church today. And so the caretaker was so excited to see some Americans here, especially in the dead season for this area. He gave me a little rock from one of the surrounding churches that has special meaning for good luck, which is really sweet, and he was just so excited to tell us about the church.
Yeah, he asked our guide in Albanian several times if we liked it or not, and when our guide Nick told him that we did like it, he didn't believe him and asked him 2 or 3 more times if he was telling the truth or not, that we liked visiting the church. So,
and our restaurant tonight went all out. Our restaurant at lunch went all out to make sure that we were taken care of.
Well, I think that does it for us tonight. So as always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. We really appreciate that. Subscribe to our channel and click the bell to be the first to know when we post something new. Good night from the Albania side of Lake Ohrid. We'll see you tomorrow from Berat. Thanks for watching.
Good night.
We can look back someday. Baby, don't you understand?